Hi everyone, I'm Cal Spriggs. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made a large desert rock formation suitable for gameplay of Warhammer 40k, Necromunda, and Warhammer the Old World. Sit back and I'll show you how I did it. Now I had already built a large number of desert rock formations that I wanted to use for Necromunda, Ash Wastes, and 40k, but I wanted to build something even bigger. I wanted a large rock formation sort of similar to the American Southwest. Now, I had seen a cheesy 80s movie back when I was a kid that's called Outrageous Fortune, and in that they had this rock formation called the Four Fingers, and for plot purposes the main character ends up leaping across these different outcroppings. So I wanted to build something like that. So as you can see, I did what I did with my other structures that I built. I did the hot foam cutting outside. This one had a lot of pieces. It took me, I want to say, close to 2 hours to cut them all, get them shaped the way I wanted. I didn't even realize how long it took me until I realized I was in direct sun and getting both hot and tired, and I'd been at it a while. But the important thing with how many pieces it had for me when I was building this was labeling them all, making sure I had them in the right spots, so that when I did put it together, it all fit together nicely. Now I did use, for this I used the same construction adhesive, the Loctite construction adhesive. It worked great. I also, because some of these pieces are rather thin, reinforced them with shish kebab skewers, and that A, helped keep things in place while it was gluing, and B, gave it a little bit more structural integrity for when it's getting played with and handled and moved, so that those different columns of rock, well, really foam, but they're supposed to represent columns of rock, are a bit more firm. You can see me attempting to get the shish kebab skewer in there. I managed to blow a hole out the side there, and then I struggled with it quite a bit, couldn't quite get it to line up, so this was almost comical, me trying to get it all together. But finally got it all lined up, got the piece in there where I wanted it, and got these 4 columns all good. Now you can see that third column, it was a single long piece that I had a sort of cap piece on. I also ran out of the original foam that I had for this, so I had slightly different shades, but since I was going ahead and painting all this, that didn't really matter much. Here it is all assembled. You can see I do a sort of circular ramp leading all the way around from the base all the way to the top. I kind of went off the plan initially, cutting it, and added like a little cave formation, which you'll see more of as we go on. I thought that added just sort of an interesting detail, and you know, it wasn't necessary, but it was kind of fun, and so I tried it out. Now I did go ahead and do this whole thing in Mod Podge with some black craft paint in there, and coating it was interesting for me because it again kind of brought it all together, made it from this big just chunk of blue foam into something that actually looked like something. So that was fun. Now with this, again, it was a really big structure. It was quite a lot for me to try and paint all in one go. I couldn't fit it on my crafting table in the corner of my hobby room. I had to put it out on the table. You can see in the background I got some of the Warhammer the Old World units that I'm trying to update. Those are my Empire Knights. And yeah, it was a long process trying to get it all even just primed here. It's hard to fit in the camera shot because it is so large. It's hard to keep track of where I was painting and how much I had to go. I mixed up actually way too much Mod Podge and craft paint for what I was doing. And of course I put down that brown paper over my playing mat that I had, and I still managed a couple times to splash the stuff elsewhere where I didn't want it, which was kind of frustrating. But most of that cleaned out, thankfully, and that's again why I had the paper up, to try and soak some of that up. But even with the paper, it just kind of got everywhere. One of the things going back that I did off video there was putting down some sand and grit in different areas to break up the smooth, even surface of the rock formation. Something I didn't do that I should have done was go in there with some plaster, some of the wall spackle stuff that I have, to seal up some of the seams a bit better. And I hadn't realized I didn't do that right up until I was halfway done here, and I was a bit frustrated with myself over that, because at this point it was really almost too late. I probably could have come back in and done that after the Mod Podge dried, but at this point I wanted to see how everything looked. Now, I did leave the top of the cave system separate, and I actually ended up magnetizing that a bit later, and that lets me kind of take the top off, and if I'm playing a D&D game or a Necromunda game, I can put models inside that cave and move them around and stuff, which I thought was kind of cool. Not really necessary for this project, but I also have a kid, and he likes to play with this stuff, so he's probably gonna put guys aside and maybe get them lost in there. So I wanted to be able to easily remove models that get put inside that cave. One thing, when I was going through painting these columns, I was using a pretty firm brush, so I was actually reassured a bit with how steady these columns were. I figured they'll hold up pretty well to the gaming that I do with it, so that was good. And I mean, you can see here I'm on 8 times speed, and it took a long time to get the coating on this and get it painted up. It was not a speedy process, and there was a lot of going back and recoating it in areas to make sure that I had full coverage. I probably wasn't like super necessary, because again, I wasn't using the spray paint on this. I was hand painting the whole thing, but I wanted to be sure the surface was a bit more resilient to gameplay and stuff. We're a little bit past the midway point, so I feel the need to remind you all that you should like and subscribe to the video. It does help other people find this kind of stuff. And then we go into me working on the undercoat, the red, barn red craft paint that I use for this. Now, my wife helped me a lot. She spent almost 2 hours painting the initial coat of this, and luckily all I had to do after that was come in and hit a few spots she missed and reapply to some areas where the paint just didn't go on as thickly as we needed to show the red all the way through. Now, I like using barn red. Some other people use burnt umber, which also works pretty well. I feel burnt umber is a little too dark, especially when I go ahead and coat this thing with the black paint first. The barn red darkens down to the color I really like for these rocks to get kind of that more Southwest US feel. And you can see this, again, it was a lengthy process. Even me just touching up took, I want to say, close to 30 minutes. But at this point, coming into it being all red, it actually looked like something as opposed to the stuff before. Now, here you can see me making yet another mistake. I started doing the overbrushing with the sunrise yellow instead of the khaki color that I had, and you can see it stands out really sharply. So I quickly fixed that mistake and went back to the tan that I meant to use. I also got out a Lazy Susan, which helped me turn this thing a lot easier on my plain surface, so that was helpful. And the overbrushing really did a good job of pulling out those details that I had etched in the surface as I was cutting this foam, and made it look a lot more like rock, and gave it kind of that sense of depth. And I just went around the entire thing. Again, it's a big chunk of foam, so it took a very long time to paint. There's a surprising amount of details with the overhangs and the different columns and stuff that I had to get everywhere. Made sure I had full coverage over the whole model. With this thing, it also has multiple levels, and I like the fact that it adds to the playability, because it's got the lower levels at the base of those columns. It's got the circling spiral that goes all the way up, so that I think that'll add both some interesting height differences for playing a 40k game, and then really for Necromunda is, I think, where it's going to be the best, right? Because Necromunda has a lot of rules as far as falling units and advantages from shooting at other units when you have a height advantage. And yeah, I think that's going to help significantly when playing the game to make this kind of more interesting, especially with vehicles, because you're supposed to play the Ash Waste games with vehicles. Having these areas where vehicles can't get up but other models can, kind of will add to the game and add a bit to the feel of it. Plus, it would be cool to crash, some kind of desert waste vehicle into this thing, and explosions everywhere, right? And all in all, I like it for the way it's kind of coming together at this point, and realized it would be a really good backdrop for some of my stuff. I feel like for both playing games and then also just videoing models after I painted them, this has that sufficiently impressive look to make the game feel more real and more dynamic and all of that. So but then I basically finished dry brushing, and here it is. I threw some of the nomads on there, and you can see the multiple levels, the different walkway areas, the ramps, and it's just, the scale of it is huge. And it's got the different columns that models can jump across to. On the backside, you can see the cave. It just feels big and impressive, and I can't wait to be gaming with it and yeah, have some models shoot each other and fail to jump across properly and all of that. So that's the video. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe.